Hello and welcome to my channel. And in this project, it is just like the title suggests. It's a backyard project and it's low budget. And I am going through the whole car and doing it in my backyard on low budget. And this is not meant to be a how-to. This is for entertainment only. This is just me doing the project as I see fit. And I've been doing this as a hobby since 1991, I believe. I've done it with 4 or 5 Camaros and a handful of other cars and a truck. And I am just prepping everything in my backyard. And when everything is primered, I'm going to take it to a booth, a paint booth, do a final sanding on it, and then paint it inside the spray booth with proper paints and stuff. But all the prep work I'm doing low budget and in my backyard. And I know I can hear my critics now, my God, this has to be done in a booth and you can't just use an aerosol can like that. I know. This is, if this car and another car just like it, professionally done, I realize I'm not going to win an award for the paint job. However, it's going to be a nice paint job. It's going to look really, really good. And most importantly, it's not going to have any rust. The car's going to look a million times better. And yeah, so, like I said, this is low budget backyard. So I've rambled on enough. Again, this is not a how-to. Let's get started. Okay, gang, so just real quick, as I wanted to cut in with a little bit of an added bonus, because I hadn't finished making all the edits to my video and it rained last night, and I wanted to come out here and show the strength of this process and the primer. So here's the side I have not done anything to yet, and you can see the water has already been absorbed. But over here that I've already worked, see how the water is just beaded up on it, and it's just sitting there waiting to dry off. There is no penetration here on this side that I've already worked. So just FYI, I just wanted to show the strength of the difference between the worked side versus the non-worked side. Okay, that was just added FYI because it rained. I wanted to show this. Okay, so here's some of the materials that I'm using. An orbital sander, that's some painter's tape, primer, Bondo, and I got some rust converter or rust neutralizer. I actually ended up with 2 different kinds, but that's okay. And I've got some 80 grit, some 60 grit, I've got some 120, some 220, and then I'm going to end up with probably some 300 or 400, and I'll use that with a hand block to do that. So just trying to lay out my processes and get started here. Okay, so we're looking at a Mitsubishi Eclipse 2006, I think it is. Can't remember for sure. But anyway, I've got some. This is going to be an outside project. Back in the 90s, I did a lot of cars this way in my backyard. And I'm doing this one the same way. So I've got things masked off, and I'm going to start hitting this with the orbital sander. And some of these spots they're starting to pit. I'll probably have to Bondo some of this, so we'll see. All right. Okay, so I thought I'd stop here and film a little bit. I'm just going to do one half now and then the second half later, but I've been hitting it with 80 grit. I'm not done with it, but I wanted to kind of show where I'm at. Here's the other side that I've done nothing with, and then now here's this side that I've been working on with my orbital sander. So I'm going to keep hitting it with 80 grit. You get the idea. There's no need for me to keep recording that, but just wanted to show the difference. Okay, so I wanted to, before I put a new piece of sandpaper on, this is the hook and loop type, I just wanted to say that it is important to wear a respirator during sanding and painting, of course, and possibly even eye protection. I am wearing those things as I'm working, but this is not a how-to. This is just me doing it the way that I see fit. You can do it however you see fit, but it is important to wear the proper safety equipment. So I did not charge my orbital sander the other night. I thought it had plenty of juice in it. Apparently not. But so this is what it looks like after me hitting it with the 80 grit paper for about 20 minutes so far. Is what I've been hitting it with. Still got, you can see, here's what it looked like before on this side, and on the driver's side, this is what it looks like now. So I'm gonna, after I finish this up with the 80, I'm gonna switch over to a 60 and then a 120. Okay, so I've been hitting it for about an hour and 10 minutes, I think, with the 80 grit sandpaper. And I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I mean, this thing was pretty rusty. And I'm going to do the 60 grit sandpaper next, and then the 120, and then finally the 220 grit sandpaper, just to kind of smooth out some of these sand marks. But you can see there's what it was before. There's after an hour and 10 minutes with the 80 grit. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna film me. I'm trying to keep this a relatively short video, so I'm not going to film me switching over from 60 to 120. Just, there's no sense in watching me with the orbital sander, but you see that I'm, every time I go up in the sandpaper, it'll smooth out a lot of these sand marks. And you also notice that, I don't think I've addressed it yet, I'm only doing half the hood at a time, so I'm not going to mask this off. I'm just going to let the overspray go onto the other side, the primer, everything, just kind of overspray. I don't want a hard line. Then when I do this side, I'll sand a little bit back into this side. So that's what's up, that's what's going on. I just don't have time to do the whole thing in one day. Unfortunately, this is just a hobby of mine that I've done since early 1990s as a hobby. So, you know, this is going to be great. I don't know that it'll, you know, win at any show contest or anything like that, but we're just going from there to a really nice paint job that won't have any future problems and preserve the car nice. That's my goal here. Okay. Okay, so I've been lightly sanding with the 220 grit with hand sanding, and next I'm going to use the rust converter or rust neutralizer. Because this was so rusty, I normally don't do that, but I'm going to put that 2 coats of the rust neutralizer on. And unfortunately, the directions say to do 2 light coats. And then the unfortunate part is it says to let sit for 24 hours. So I'm going to do that. Then after it's dry, the rust neutralizer is dry, I'm going to come back and do some Bondo to smooth out some of those pits. And then I'm going to do some more sanding and then primer. But I'm going to clean it with alcohol, rubbing alcohol here in just a minute, and spray down that rust neutralizer. I think that's important for this, because this isn't just patchwork. This is a pretty good amount. There's some pretty good pitting. I think I've got all the rust gone. So I'm going to hit it with rust neutralizer, and we'll see what happens from here. Okay, so I got it cleaned up with a dry paper towel. Now I've just got some rubbing alcohol, and I'm just going to be cleaning all this up. And you can see, even though I cleaned it, the rubbing alcohol just picks up a ton of stuff left behind, and I'm going to continue to wipe all this down until it doesn't pick stuff up. Okay, so because this vehicle had so much rust, I'm going to use the rust neutralizer. Normally I don't, but this was a lot of rust, and so I'm going to spray 2 coats of this on. I'm going to put my respirator on and eye protection. So I'm going to ask my wife, my lovely assistant, to film as I put 2 coats of this. I normally don't do this stuff, but there's so much of this rust. And then after 24 hours of this curing, I'm going to apply Bondo just to fill in a little bit of this pitting that I didn't quite get all. So this will make for a better surface for the adhesion of the Bondo. All right, so next I'm going to mix up a little Bondo and fill in some of the pits and some of the areas where I got pretty aggressive with the sander to dig out the cavity, if you will, and remove the rust. So I'm going to just use just a little bit, and once I mix it, sets up in about 10 minutes. So I have to move quick, and then after it's finished curing, then I'm going to do the sanding again. I'll probably do a 120 and then a 220 by hand before I primer, and then I'll clean the whole thing off with rubbing alcohol again before I primer. But next is the Bondo. So, and it has to be quick, so I'm going to ask my wife to record while I mix that up and get that going. And I also need my wife to record because I'm going to put my respirator on, because the chemical smell is just terrible, just absolutely terrible. Even outside, it's pretty bad. So, all right, so. Okay, so I have all the Bondo on that I wanted. I'm going to let it sit for about 30 minutes before I hit it with the sander. Normally I go even longer than that. However, it's just a pretty thin coat, so I'm going to let that sit for about 30 minutes, and then I'll probably hit it with some 60 grit, then 120, and then 220. Alright, so I'm done with my sanding, and before I primer it, I'm cleaning it with the rubbing alcohol again. And okay, so I'm going to keep going through until I get it all cleaned up. Okay, so there is one half of it primered, and now next weekend I'm going to do the other half and keep going through all the panels of the car, and then take it over. And a buddy of mine is looking at getting a spray booth, and so I'll sand it again before it actually goes into the paint booth. But like the title suggests, this is a backyard project. The driver's side is a million times better than the passenger side, and it's a low budget backyard project. Anyway, I hope you find it entertaining, and it's not meant to be a how-to. This is just how I'm doing it. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.